Hi everyone, I'm Lynn Woodland. Welcome to the Miracles course. I'm the author of two different books about miracles. The first is called Holding a Butterfly, an experiment in miracle making, which really from chapter 1 draws readers into a real-time experiment in miraculous experience. And the second book, The Breakthrough Point, a spiritual activist guide to thriving in a modern world, that continues the experiment and also takes a deep look at why these times we're in are so volatile and so crazy, and how we can learn how to ride that wave of unpredictability instead of being pummeled by it every time we turn on the news. So the Miracles course, this course is a year-long program. Meets weekly. Every week is some different slant of personal and spiritual growth. Every lesson is a complete experience. So it is okay to just drop in at any point in the curriculum without feeling that you're coming in on the middle of something. And at the same time, each class builds upon the last in the same way that one season leads into another. In fact, the content of the course uses the 4 seasons and the turning of the seasons and the changing of the balance of light as a template for the whole of the human journey. So we really cover a wide range of personal and spiritual experience, all with the goal of living a miraculous life. So there's no beginning or end to this course, which is why a lot of people just choose to repeat it over and over again. And well, welcome to summer. We're now past the summer solstice. We celebrated that last time. I'm having kind of a lap full of cat all of a sudden. Mrs. Sophie. Suddenly she is with me. And we're now past the peak of light. So what that means is no longer are we in the phase where light is just striving toward greater and greater heights every day. And for the next 6 months, it's going to be steadily subsiding. And we'll kind of look at a little bit of what that means. Sophie girl, you're kidding. You are making such a mess here. But you know, we're still at a point where the darkness of fall is far away, and that warm, growing effect of light is going to be with us for months yet. Now, the spring season, we've spent these months working on ourselves, pursuing our dreams, rising into our own power. And, you know, the spring is, I think of spring as the energy of a plant that's just rising to the sun, higher and higher, until it gets so big it just flops over. And this time of year, it's the time to shift attention away from pursuing and move more into a state of allowing. And one of the best ways to do this is through a state of gratitude. And gratitude, many of you I think already know this, is such a highly magnetic state of mind. It promotes physical healing. It leaves us feeling happy and at peace. It naturally attracts to us our highest good. And because what we give attention to is what multiplies in our life, the more we acknowledge our blessings, the more blessings we attract. So all month, the whole month of June, our work here has been aimed at piercing the illusions of finite reality. And that's what, in a nutshell, that's what the whole Miracles course is about, but especially this month, really piercing the illusion of the physical world to experience the limitlessness that exists right beyond the surface of what we can perceive with our physical senses. And this week's lesson is titled Living in the Fullness of God. And this means living with the awareness of what truly is. And my go-to model for living in gratitude. Bill took Sophie away. Thank you. He came around behind me and kind of like, go away, little girl. She's a very large cat. She's a very loving cat, too. So my go-to role for living in gratitude and living in the fullness of God is a woman named Peace Pilgrim. And I want to spend a little bit of time here today talking about her. I mention her from time to time in the Miracles course. So it's good to just introduce her in her fullness a bit. She was quite a remarkable woman who, in the 1950s, let go of her middle-class life. She took the name Peace Pilgrim. I mean, she really let go of her identity and all of her material things. And she spent the rest of her years until 1989, when she passed away, walking back and forth across the country, talking to people about peace. She owned only one set of clothes, and the very few personal items she could fit in her pockets were just, a little comb, a little, maybe a piece of notepad and a couple of stamps and a pen. Very, very little. She didn't dress with anything warm. If she needed something warmer, she stuffed her little jersey with newspaper. She ate only when she was offered food. She slept indoors only when she was offered shelter. And she talked to people only when they approached her first. And she claimed to have no fear whatsoever, in spite of the fact that she sought out really the most populated and so-called dangerous areas to travel on foot, at all hours of the day and night, So if she ever asked directions and she was told, oh, you don't want to go down there, that's a really bad part of town, that would be exactly where she'd go, because she'd figure, I guess that's where they most need to think about, talk about, hear about peace. That was how she thought about things. And she saw everyone as good, and consequently called forth people's highest qualities and behaviors. And as a young child, I was fortunate enough to have encountered her a couple of times as she passed through my part of the country. She actually came to my schoolyard a couple of times. I went to a Quaker school, so it was really very apropos for a Peace Pilgrim to come and visit. And she would be invited to, talk in assembly, and she'd come to the playground. And hearing her speak about her life truly is one of the most vivid memories of my childhood. And she was really mesmerizing. And she just emanated a serenity and an inner peace that was really contagious. Children and adults would just flock around her. And in spite of owning nothing and living nowhere and having no outward form of security, she consistently experienced love and generosity and miracles wherever she went. And for her, life was a cornucopia of abundance. And I'm just sharing a lot about her because she is so the model for this next phase of spiritual learning that really is about allowing the abundance of God, not finding it, not pursuing it, not manifesting it, but really allowing it, because that is our birthright. And Peace Pilgrim became quite well known before she died. In fact, there's a handful of books and videos available about her life. The best known, and I recommend this to everyone, is called Peace Pilgrim, Her Life and Work in Her Own Words. I think this is a great book just to have by your bedside. This kind of book you can just open up anywhere and find something just, soul-soothing. I'm going to share an excerpt from this book as an example of how miracles just seem to happen to her through her willingness to live from gratitude and see beauty rather than ugliness. And I'm quoting her here, I'm quoting from the book. One test happened in the middle of the night, in the middle of the California desert. The traffic had just about stopped, and there wasn't a human habitation within many miles. I saw a car parked at the side of the road, and the driver called to me saying, "Come on, come get in and get warm." And I said, "I don't ride." And he said, "I'm not going anywhere, I'm just parked here." So I got in. I looked at the man. He was big and burly, what most people would call a rough-looking individual. After we had talked a while, he said, "Say, wouldn't you like to get a few winks of sleep?" And I said, "Oh yes, I certainly would." And I curled up and I went to sleep. When I awoke, I could see the man was very puzzled about something. And after we had talked for quite some time, he admitted that when he had asked me to get into the car, he had certainly meant me no good, adding, "When you just curled up so trustingly and went to sleep, I just couldn't touch you." I thanked him for the shelter and began walking away. And as I looked back, I saw him gazing at the heavens, and I hoped he had found God that night. No one walks so safely as one who walks humbly and harmlessly with great love and great faith. For such a person gets through to the good in others, and there is good in everyone, and therefore cannot be harmed. End of quote. That is Peace Pilgrim right there. And here's another piece. On gratitude, she said, "All people look beautiful to me. They look like shining lights to me. I always have the feeling of being thankful for these beautiful people who walk the earth with me. I'm constantly thankful. The world is so beautiful, I'm thankful. I have endless energy, I'm thankful. I'm plugged into the source of universal supply, I'm thankful. I'm plugged into the source of universal truth, I am thankful. I have this constant feeling of thankfulness, which is a prayer." End quote. Now, Peace Pilgrim really did have tremendous energy, and even in her advanced years, she could outwalk just about anyone who tried to walk with her. She said she was walking on what she called that endless energy that comes from inner peace. And she explained further in this conversation she had with a truck driver. And here I am quoting again. A truck driver pulled his truck to the side of the road and said, "I heard you say over television something about that endless energy. And I just wanted to tell you, I had it one time. I was marooned in a town by a flood. I got so bored that I finally offered to help, and I got interested in helping people out. I worked without eating. I worked without sleeping. I wasn't tired, but I don't have it anymore. I said, well, what are you working for now? Money, he said. I said, that should be quite incidental. You have the endless energy only when you are working for the good of the whole. You have to stop working for your little selfish interests. That's the secret of it. In this world, you are given as you give, end quote. So gratitude, seeing the beauty in everyone, and giving to the greater good made Peace Pilgrim's life not just one of service, but one of just supreme joy and fulfillment. I mean, she was happy. She just emanated this total happiness. There was even one story of her being lost in a blizzard and almost dying of the cold, and all she could think of, I'm going to see God. How wonderful. She gets arrested. It's like, oh, I'm so happy to meet this young woman who's here. Such lovely police officers arresting me. That was how she saw life. But we don't have to adopt her extreme lifestyle to find a lot of this same joy and to live in the fullness of God. And what's more, this shifting of attention beyond ourselves and our personal desires is the balance that allows our manifesting work in recent weeks to evolve into a true connection to the limitless source of God and into real power. This week's practice is to become a peace pilgrim in your own way. And in the written materials, I suggest a number of different practices for cultivating gratitude and living in the fullness of God. And I'm going to go through them, and then we're going to do something with them. We're going to do a little bit of an exercise with them. The first practice is just a continuous prayer of gratitude. In other words, this week, fill your attention as often as you possibly can with a prayer of thanksgiving. Find one that's simple, that you can say over and over again like a mantra during your day. I personally like the really simple one, just thank you, God. Thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. Easy to remember. And, there was that well-known Japanese researcher, Dr. Masaru Emoto, I believe I'm saying his name right, who was known for his revolutionary work photographing ice crystals. And his photographs demonstrated the tangible and really transformative power of words. He exposed water to both spoken and written words, then photographed the crystals formed by the water. And he found that loving words like thank you in any language, and love and kindness and those kinds of words form very beautiful, complex snowflake patterns. Whereas water crystals that were exposed to pollutants or harsh words, like hatred and, uglier words, formed broken asymmetrical patterns. Amazing work. There's books of his photographs that are just fabulous to look at. And, not only does this lead to speculation about what else we may be tangibly changing with our words and thoughts, but think of it, that our human bodies are predominantly water. It leaves not too much doubt that our words must powerfully affect our physical well-being. So, really just being aware of how your words can be just an ongoing prayer of gratitude is a really powerful powerful first exercise. Now, the second one I want to talk about is look for opportunities to be grateful. Just look for them and find them. Begin to notice all the small moments in your day when circumstances just seem to conspire in your favor. Sometimes we might call that a coincidence. I call it a little, opportunity to say thank you to God. A parking place opens up just as you need it. You almost drop something breakable, but you catch it just in time. An unexpected check shows up in the mail. Just thank God for each of these small gifts. And at the end of each day, just take a moment to review all the small and large blessings you've received. It's a great way to put yourself to sleep. Now, the third practice is to give thanks even for challenging experiences, even for those life lessons that feel painful. Now, in the spring quarter, I talked about a woman who actually healed her melanoma by repeatedly affirming, "Thank you, God, for cancer." As we give thanks for situations that feel hurtful, we relax around them. We let go of fighting them. We let go of struggle. And we become more open to healing. We open more to the lessons of these situations without needing the pain to catch our attention. Now, the fourth practice is to start a written record of your blessings. And with this, you just make a written list of everything you can think of that you feel grateful for. Maybe just make a few entries a day, first thing in the morning or last thing at night, and include things you've wanted and then received, successes, things that have gone right in your life, people you love, people who have loved you and given you support and assistance, and the circumstances both from the present and the past that have contributed to your growth and well-being. Now, the next practice is to speak of gratitude. And this means to begin a new way of talking about your life, so that instead of describing what's wrong, you share everything you're grateful for. You might even speak about the same events, like things you used to whine and complain about. Talk about them now from the perspective of what you've gained, what you've learned, the hidden blessings, what you're grateful for, rather than what you've lost. The next practice is to see the beauty in everyone. And with this, just spend a whole day silently blessing each person you meet, people you know, as well as strangers you encounter during the day. And to bless someone, it's easy, just silently send a heartfelt wish for them to become as abundant and joyful as you wish to be. Practice seeing each person the way Peace Pilgrim would have seen them, as just beautiful, shining lights, just worthy of your love, just wonderful, beautiful children of God. And if you have difficulty seeing someone in this light, I find that it helps me to think of all the people who must have at some point in this person's life loved them. After all, pretty much everyone has been precious to someone at some time. So imagine seeing what they must have seen or see. Or imagine that you're not you. Imagine that you are Peace Pilgrim, and even go through your day pretending to be Peace Pilgrim and seeing as she might see, and see if the exercise doesn't come a little more easily. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who was one of my favorite teachers, often said, we all have an inner Hitler and an inner Mother Teresa. By the same token, I say we all have an inner peace pilgrim. And as Peace Pilgrim said, you have to stop working for your own little selfish interests. Because, of course, our little interests are never going to lead us to our greatest rewards. Now, another suggestion for this week is to find a path of service that brings you joy. You know, it could be a small, personal form like helping a friend or a neighbor in need. Maybe it's something bigger like volunteering for an organization or a cause. If you already volunteer, consider giving in a way this may be different or a stretch for you. In other words, always find a form of service that feels joyful. But here's a few suggestions that might help you look at giving in a whole new way. One might be to tell at least one person every day something you admire or cherish about them. And when anyone acknowledges or appreciates you, really receive it. Let it completely in. Let it warm your heart, and know that gratefully receiving someone's gift of love in a heartfelt way is in and of itself a gift. And, if it's easy for you to give material gifts, this week experiment with giving appreciation in another way, like give verbal appreciation. And if you're comfortable giving spoken gifts that way, try giving a hug or giving your time. About it. Well, everyone, it has been a blessing and an honor always to be with you until not next week, but our first week in July, when we are going to become prosperous, true prosperity, which is not just about how much is in your bank account. It's really something bigger and deeper and better than that. So I hope you all will tune in for that. And until then, I love and bless you.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.